Welcome along to Betting Weekly Premier League show. You're with myself, Dan Roebuck, alongside me as ever, Nigel Seeley and Jack Wright. Nigel, how are you? Good week for the English teams in the Champions League. Really good wins for Arsenal and Villa, and a bit of a smash and grab for Liverpool. But from an English standpoint, really good efforts all round.
I'm delighted from. Absolutely delighted from it. Done my absolute brains on the midweek. Not for the first time this season, anyone who's followed this show. I mean, great, brilliant. Arsenal went and won 7-1, but if anyone watched when we were on bullish on Betting Weekly Live to say it was one of the best under 2.5 goal bets of all time, and then it was, I even said it might even be 0-0. 7-1 was probably not one of my finest hours. The annoying thing as well was that for the first 5 or 10 minutes, there was nothing happening. Obviously 5-10 minutes, nothing really happens in the game. So I, in my wisdom, decided to press on the 2.5, going again, double mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And took the under 2.5 at minus 185, thinking this is a good bet. Within 25 minutes, I'd know my fate. The Villa game was a weird one as well. Played the unders in that match, no surprise. Thought I might have got away with it after that fast start. And then an own goal and a penalty. And then last night, obviously, the result for Liverpool, which was just incredible. I mean, probably the most incredible football match we've seen this season so far. How Liverpool have got away with that, which will come on to Liverpool being rather fortunate, rather lucky. But that was just incredible how Paris Saint-Germain never got anything from that match and Liverpool sneaked the win. Incredible. But well done for the English sides, but no, I'm not really cheering that much.
It's a strange one, isn't it? Because everyone I speak to over the last sort of 48 hours when it comes to betting on the Champions League, most people have had shockers. But Jack, 6 winning favourites came in here, 5 at minus money. I mean, it's gone wrong for us, but maybe it shouldn't have gone wrong for us. Unless you had a good a day in the Champions League. I don't know. You were certainly well dressed for the Champions League yesterday on the show. I'm disappointed you haven't got your white suit on for us today.
It's at the dry cleaners, mate. So, yeah. So
it's coming out tonight in an over 40 singles night in Norwich. He'll be out there. Bit of cha-cha slide. That'd be out.
No, I'm saving it for Saturday Night Fever. It's fine. Yeah. Oh, I'm glad it made a good impression. So, as I said, I was kind of a bit jealous of the two lads, Nigel and Steve, the night before, and the Champions League nights with their beautiful blazers on. So I thought I'd see what I could find in my wardrobe, and there it was.
There's a housing crisis in London. A family of 8 could sleep in the tent in my one. It's that big on me. They got me and Steve exactly the same size. I can't believe it. How would anybody think? Steve's looks like snugly fit. Mine looks like it's like I've just borrowed it from the Undertaker or something like that. It was unbelievable.
This is the Premier League show, not the fashion show, thankfully. When we're going to talk our way through all of the 10 games this weekend. We've got the P&L up on screen from the season so far.
Oh, dear. Take it down quick, John.
Take it down quickly. Cover your eyes, look away now if you don't want to see Nigel's P&L. But class is permanent, form is temporary, and all that. Look, we've still got enough games to get the show back in profit, which is the most important thing. And hopefully Nigel will nudge towards profit as well.
Less than double figure losses. That's what you want. That's my goal. To be honest with you, mate, it's just been one of them seasons. I mean, it happens sometimes. You just have some of the teams I can't read, some of the prices I can't read. Just one of them things. But strategy, I'm going to go for it from the running now. These hot dogs aren't going to be $2. I tell you, they're going to be. We're going out. If we're going to go out, we're going out in style.
Tag us in at Because We Win. We're on Instagram and, of course, follow us on Twitter. Make sure you follow the YouTube channel if you just stumbled across us for the first time. Where have you been all season? Might be a good time to join us, actually, from here on in. But make sure you subscribe to the channel. Give us your thoughts on the Premier League action this weekend. We're on hand over the course of the weekend to give you our thoughts on your plays and vice versa, of course. We're going to kick off with Nottingham Forest versus Manchester City. Now, this is a 7:30 a.m. Kick-off Eastern here. And we've got Nigel's 2-unit play off the bat here. Nottingham Forest at a plus 280. City a minus 113. How times have changed, Nigel. Forest were 10-1 to win this fixture last season, but they're 24 points better off the same stage last season. City are 15 points worse off here. So Forest have improved, City have dipped. It's the 2-unit play. Which way are we going? Which trend are we following?
Well, anybody who's watched this show knows that I've been opposing Manchester City throughout the recent run, but I can't get them right. Every time I've opposed them, they've gone on and won. That famously or every time I've gone with them, they haven't put famously that win over at Newcastle not so long ago as well. So when we sort of faded them, they put in an unbelievable performance. I just think this has got to. You've highlighted there the difference in points from last season to this season, but the most important factor for here is the difference in league position. There's only 1 point between these two sides in the current league position, and a win for Manchester City will take them up to third in the Premier League. And when you consider the season they've had, and they'll only be 4 points behind Arsenal in second, who are struggling with their league form. I mean, this could be the worst season ever for Manchester City in the Premier League history, and they could finish second. It could conceivably happen if they go on a run. I'm going with City here at -113. I just think that the price has just got too big a price for me not to get involved. As you said, last 2 years that Nottingham Forest have been around about 10-1 to win this fixture, but Manchester City to win this fixture have been -$4 in the last 2 seasons. And I think at this moment in time, Nottingham Forest are having a little blip of form. They haven't won in 90 minutes in their last 5 matches. Manchester City had a good win last week against Plymouth. I know there were very, very different personnel in that fixture that will play here. And I think that's a good thing for them because they can rest those players, whereas the match against Forest against Ipswich in the FA Cup, they needed the big guns to come back in and get them over the line. So a lot of those players have played. City have never beaten Forest have never beaten Man City in the Premier League. They've only scored 1 goal in the matches that they've ever played in the Premier League. I know it's very, very different now, but Forest have got a FA Cup run. I know Manchester City got an FA Cup run as well, but I think it's City's. The highlight for City here is now to get in this Champions League positions, and this is a big, big pressure game for Nottingham Forest. Massive, massive pressure game, and I think it's a big ask for them. I think for Manchester City, they've played so many of these big, massive games over this course of the season or in seasons gone by that I think they know what to do in these kind of matches here. There was another bet that sort of I took my fancy as well, and it was Haaland. I mean, Haaland. We talk about Haaland being like -180. -175. He should be back for this match, which I think really, really will help Man City. And obviously it will definitely help the betting for us. If we bet -113, there is a possibility he doesn't feature. But if he does play, that -113 will suddenly be -125 very quickly. And I believe he will play. He is +120 to score any time in this match, which just shows you how that was going to be one of my bets here as well. He returned from injury last season in this match and scored. So the omens are good for him. He's +120 if you want to get with Haaland. I mean, still, for me, I still believe, Salah is having an incredible season. But I think if you wanted a striker at top, Haaland is still your main man despite the season he's having here. And I just believe this is purely and simply a price play. I just think that -113, Manchester City, in a huge, huge match where the winner of this match is in the boss seat for Champions League football next season. And I think that Man City, have the experience they've had over the years in these big matches, whereas it's all new for Nottingham Forest. I know they've got brilliant home record. They've got a great, great support there. It will be electric. But also, you've got to remember, the other thing you've got to remember as well, is when Man City had their real bad slump, when they were really, really bad in the middle of the season, they went to City, they played Nottingham Forest in that sort of period, and they smashed them 3-0, and they could have won by 5 or 6. So I'm going to go for City as my 2U played -113. I think the price is too tempting to ignore.
Yeah, and for all City's woes this season, their record against the top 7, they've won 4. Forest have only won 1. It's a massive tempt to that price. It's Nigel's 2-unit play. Jack, quickly on your lean here. You don't think there's going to be a lot of goals around?
Well, I've gone under 3 Asian total. It's -127. So, I just feel that Forest tried to rotate and rest their key men ahead of this one against Ipswich in the Cup on Monday night. They needed to bring them on. Morgan Gibbs-White played over an hour, so did Anderson. Wood came on for the final half an hour as well, obviously went to penalties. And now they've got a great chance of getting to Wembley and going and winning an FA Cup. So I think the fact that the top 5 will go into the Champions League takes a little bit of pressure off them to kind of keep going. They do kind of have a little bit of a mental block against the better sides in the league. and against City. City won this both games last season 2-0. So I can see a similar outcome there. Nigel's already said earlier in the season the reverse fixture was 3-0. Both the last two games haven't been full of goals. Man City go out to Spurs and win them 1-0. And Forest hold at Arsenal 0-0. So under 3 Asian total for me.
Liverpool, oh no, not Liverpool, what am I talking about? Brighton next up, Brighton against Fulham, which is 10 a.m. on Saturday here. Brighton are minus money favourites, just Fulham plus 270 here. We have got Jack's 2-unit play next for you. We're going to steer away from the money line. Jack, what's your best bet over the course of the weekend? What's your 2U?
It's goals again. This time over 2.5 goals at minus 129. This sort of snuck up as my 2-unit play this week, really, to be fair, because I wasn't quite expecting to be able to play this line with these two sides. I think, again, stylistically, I'll talk about that a fair amount. They go well together. We know that Brighton will be front foot. When their front players click, they tend to score goals. And they get quite excited as far as going forwards concerned. I think that will also suit Fulham, who can then hit on the counter-attack. Fulham have got a great away record, so they're going to go to Brighton and expect to get a positive result from the game. They're not going to sit back and look to defend, that's for certain. These two sides are locked next to each other in the league. There's only a point between them. They've got a great opportunity, both of those, of getting some kind of European soccer next season based on their league position. So all to play for. And again, both these sides progressed in the FA Cup, so there's no real advantage, disadvantage when we come down to that side of things. They're both evenly matched. They both kind of had the same kind of program as well as far as games are concerned. So for me, it just feels that so they're going to be two attack-minded sides. They're going to go look to win the game. And both have got threats in forward areas, both a bit vulnerable defensively, and generally across the campaign we tend to see goals from them. So, Fulham has scored in every single road trip after that first one of the season where they lost 1-0 to Manchester United. So they'll have confidence to score against Brighton. And we've seen over the last few games, Brighton have been very effective in forward areas. So it matches nicely together. And for me, over 2.5 goals, I was surprised that we could get it at this price. So minus 129, my 2-unit play. Brighton looking for 4 wins on the spin.
Yeah, banging form at the moment. Nigel, what's your thoughts on this one? We've said Brighton at minus money. Usually we bet against them, just 3 wins from 11 when they've been odds on. But they have won 3 of their last 4. They've turned a corner to a certain extent. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, it could be the FA Cup final, this one, couldn't it? 3 successive Premier League wins for Brighton, 3 successive home wins. Fulham, 17 road matches this season, only 3 losses against Man United, Man City, and the other team was West Ham. Scored in every single one of those matches, bar 1 in away from home. Since the loss at Nottingham Forest, a 7-0 loss for Brighton. I think Tony Bloom had a word with them, and they've been fantastic since then. 3-1 the reverse fixture. My only problem with betting Brighton at minus 103 is obviously the problems we've highlighted before, betting them at minus money. And also Mitoma has got a knee injury, so he's going to be probably out for this match as well. So that's a big, big blow for Brighton there. When Jack said to me about the league position, I think that's really, really important because I don't think there's much between these two sides. I don't necessarily believe Brighton should be minus 103 and Fulham should be plus 270. But I do think Fulham will score. So I've gone for a tie. I've gone for plus 255. I think if I was going for a lean, I think the match might be a tie. Goals, high scoring draw, 2-2, 1-1. You know what? Obviously, we want 2-2 for the over 2.5. But 2-2 draw. But I think the tie here at plus 255 on the money line is the best way for it to go.
Do you know the last time Brighton won 4 successive games in the top flight?
Don't know.
Jimmy
Melia in charge.
Tell me the year, and I'll tell you who was number 1.
Jimmy Melia, 1983.
It was close. May the 2nd, 1981.
81.
What's Jimmy Melia in your head, Nigel? I did that research on the morning train.
Okay.
Hang on.
Do you know what number 1 was? You won't believe what was number 1. Do you know what number 1? No, I'm going to tell you what was number 1, and you will not believe it because you won't believe what's number 1. I know what was number 1 then.
Sheena Easton, 95.
No, it wasn't. I know what number 1 was.
I thought that was a clue. What's the point in doing that clue?
Because he said he takes the morning train. I know what number 1 was. Number 1, and you won't believe it, was Bucks Fizz with Making Your Mind Up.
No, it wasn't.
It was.
Yeah.
May the 2nd, 1981, Bucks Fizz was number 1 with Making Your Mind Up. Because
Yeah, anyway,
they won the
listen-
Eurovision Song Contest in the April, and they were number one in UK charts in 1981. I'm telling
anyway,
you now,
Google let me
making
down on
your
the
mind
morning
up.
trains.
Yeah, it did. Anyway, look, we got to speed it up now.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, you having that? You having what?
That's
you
not bad.
having that
That's
one?
not
You
good.
having that one?
Very good.
Liverpool versus Southampton next. We're running massively long here. 10 a.m. Saturday. Liverpool are minus 1,000. Saints are 18-1. No one's going to get rich, Nigel, betting Liverpool at this sort of price. Asian line's about minus 2.5 here at minus 108. What do we think off the back of that Champions League smash and grab? Any bets?
I might have a few little pizza money on Southampton to win this if they get to 25-1 or bigger. I'm not. You might not think I'm mad, but they're the worst team in the Premier League for some years. And only 9 points. We know that. Liverpool smash and grab, as you said. But at Liverpool, the lucky side of that match against Paris Saint-Germain, when they played Liverpool, no Isaac. When they played City, no Haaland. They got Arsenal, their main contenders, have a huge injury crisis. Shortest odds on the coupon here, but I think they'll make huge changes. I can't see Salah playing. They've got a cup final to play as well against Newcastle. They've got a return leg in the Champions League, which is going to be that tie's not over whatsoever. So this is a great opportunity for fringe players here. I was looking at the Southampton plus 2.5 here, which was minus 117 because the reverse fixture was 3-2, and Southampton played really well in that match. Should have got something from it. But it was minus 117, 2.5, and the 3 goals worries me. I wanted to play minus 275 or plus 2.75 on the Asian handicap, then to get the 3 goals, but you've got to drop to minus 148. The money since that game last night has all come for Southampton in the draw here. The Asian handicap has moved quite significantly against Liverpool because I don't think Liverpool need to put on a cricket score. They don't put on a performance. I was looking at some fringe players, potentially Darwin Núñez to score at any time. Darwin Núñez to score the first goal. The player that I said at the start of the season I thought would have an exceptional season this season, but he's been out injured, but I think he's a real talent. Harvey Elliott. He scored in that game against Paris Saint-Germain last night, but he's only plus 650 to score the first goal and plus 230 to score any time. So I think here you've got to look for Liverpool fringe players. And if the line, I think the line will move towards Southampton here. I'm joking aside, I wouldn't bet Southampton at 18-1, but I do think that when the team news comes out, I think Liverpool will rest a lot of players here, and the Asian line will move towards Southampton. They're not good enough to win it, but they could make it tricky for Liverpool, especially in the first half. So I'm quite looking for the draw to be a draw at half time, something like that, and then Liverpool bring on the big and win it 2 or 3-0 in the second half. I don't think this is going to be as one-sided as the Asian handicap suggests, and the early money from the Asian syndicate suggests that they want to get with Southampton here.
Yeah, I like those Elliott and Núñez places. I think they'll both start. Núñez got a lot of credit, didn't he, for his assist for Elliott in midweek. What you got for us, Jack, here? What's your play?
Yeah, I agree with the thought process there. I think it will be a heavily rotated Liverpool side, obviously with that massive game coming up next week. Watch Southampton against Chelsea were so feeble. They just didn't offer anything at all. So that 3-2 result seems a long while ago for Southampton. They just seem to have completely fallen off a cliff and they're just waiting to be put out of their misery, really, to be fair. So I've gone for Liverpool win 2-0 with a rotated side. I think defensively they can keep it tight enough and then they'll just pick off a couple of goals. So, the handicap would be a concern to me. The usual suspects would be a concern to me. Fringe players, but a win till at minus 108, I think that boosts that price pretty nicely. That's my lean.
That's the lean, Liverpool to win 2-0. Shortest price second shortest price for over 3.5 goals in the season in the Premier League, would you believe? It's minus 157 now for over 3.5 goals. Incredible. Let's get to Palace versus Ipswich, another 10 a.m. Eastern game here. Palace at minus 220, Ipswich against plus 575. We've got Jack's 1 unit play here. Only Liverpool and Arsenal have won more points than Palace over the last 10 games. Surely Palace are banker material here, but then you have to weigh that up with the fact, Jack, that Mateta, I presume he's not going to play. I think they've said he's not going to play after that horror injury sustained against Millwall last week. What's your 1 unit playing this?
The 1 unit play is on both teams to score, yes. It's minus 115. I think that sometimes when you've got a striker like Mateta that's been key for them, that you'd then worry who's going to come in. Will they find the goals? They have got goals elsewhere. Sarr's back in form. Eze's, we've talked about him for the last couple of seasons or more. Real great player. So he's on form, which is great. Player I like a lot, Núñez, is getting advanced. I was very close to putting him forward as a hot dog. He's plus 550 to score at any time. I went elsewhere in the end and settled on both teams to score because I think Nketiah is going to come in. And I think the key element for Palace scoring is the fact that he scored in his last couple of games. And it does seem that the players absolutely love him there and are desperate for him to do well. So I think Palace have got enough. Their home form this season has been pretty poor, unusually for them. They've been much better away from home. But I think that last result at home in the league, where they beat Villa 4-1, was a real pick-me-up for them. And then they followed it up with that win against Millwall 3-1, despite losing their kind of star striker in the very early stages of the game. So I can't see there have been much of a problem with them scoring for that. They've failed to keep a clean sheet, though, in their last nine home league games. So 9 of 14, both teams to score, but the last 8 have all clicked for that bet. So that's where I'm going with it. Ipswich were kind of very competitive for a large part of the season. They now seem to be conceding a lot of goals, which obviously is great for this particular bet, but they are still finding goals in their team as well. So both teams have scores cashed in each of the last 7 across all venues and competitions for Ipswich, and in 10 of 13 road league games. They're only behind Bournemouth in that metric. So for me, both teams to score, a nice price, -115.
What do you think, Nigel? Mateta, a massive problem for Palace? Can you see Ipswich getting something here? Any leans?
I'm on the same page as Jack, really, here. Both teams to score, yes, -114. I know you're very interested in my last man standing competition, which I'm down to the final 4, which is £5,000 for the winner.
Are we getting a share in it?
No. I'm down to the final 4, and I've got to go for Palace as my pick here to get me through to the next round, because I've used a lot of teams. But I'm slightly worried about it, actually. I'm not, without Mateta, I am slightly worried about it because, as Jack said, their home form is not great. On the road, they're exceptional. They haven't lost away since October in all competitions. They've only, won 8 of their last 10 and 4 and won only 3 of those wins in those matches have been at home. But I do think Ipswich got a goal with them. Ipswich have scored in their last 7. Palace conceded in 10 of their last 11. Ipswich have no Premier League wins in 2025, 2 draws and 5 losses, so it shows you where their form is here. And if you looked at the Premier League table, if you just took away the first 6 matches of the season, Crystal Palace would be 4th in the Premier League table. It shows you what a job Glasner has done. I mean, he's an exceptional manager. I saw them firsthand, how strong they are defensively. They're very, very good. But I do think they'll concede a goal here. Both teams to score, yes, was a lean for me, -114. And I thought if you're going to go, you think Ipswich are going to score, then the man who's going to score for them is Delap. And he's +340 to score any time. So I'm probably going to go. I think Palace will probably nick it, but I'm going to go 2-1, 3-1 Palace. But both teams to score, yes. -114 is my lean as well.
We moved from South London to West London for the lunchtime kickoff. Eastern, tea time UK. It's Brentford against Aston Villa. Brentford are favourites here, +130. Villa +180. Brentford 7th in the home table, only bottom 4 have got a worse away record than Villa this season, which was a new one on me when I was looking at 1 or 2 of the stats. Jack, we've got your hot dog coming our way here. It's a little sort of mini parlay, really. Obviously, Villa in between those legs against Club Brugge in the Champions League. What's your big price play?
They are, yeah. I kind of fancy Brentford to win it. And as I was looking at the hot dog here, and I've simply added both teams to score in that selection. So Brentford and both teams to score, or Brentford to win and both teams to score, comes in at +230, which is a decent price. Brentford favourites for this. They've not been great at home in recent weeks. Let's address that. We thought they might get over the line and get back to winning ways against Everton last time out in the league, but that wasn't the case. But I do think their style of play is not what Aston Villa really want to be facing at this moment in time. Brilliant win for them against Club Brugge in the Champions League away from home midweek. But I think they will be very wary and conscious of the fact of what Brugge did to Atalanta in the last away leg in the Champions League, where they were exceptional. So it's not game over yet by any stretch of the imagination. I think Unai Emery will pay a lot of attention to that game coming up. They're mid-table. Yes, they've still got a chance of progressing for their league situations concerned, but I just feel that Brentford, with that intense style of play, will probably end up wearing Villa down here, because we saw them against Manchester City where they got stronger as the game went on, Brentford. And I can see a similar situation happening in this one. Obviously, Brentford have had a lot more rest over recent weeks than Villa, who've had them games coming thick and fast for them. So that's an advantage for them as well. It's not as if Brentford are out of form. They've been winning games away from home, so I think it's about time they brought that back to the GTEC Stadium and get the win. And I say with the both teams to score element aside of that, Brentford are yet to keep a clean sheet at home this season, which is incredible, really, considering how good they are. But they're the top goal scorers at home, yet they do concede a lot of goals. So I think Villa, with their attack, however rotated it is, have got the tools to go and score against Brentford, and therefore a win for Brentford and both teams to score becomes a hot dog at plus 230.
Little mini parlay for us in that game between Brentford and Aston Villa. Nigel, you've got a play here that was nearly an official play. It's a lean, but it's Brentford heavy.
Yeah, I was going to go for the hot dog. Pretty much the same reasons as Jack said there. Brentford haven't played in 10 days, and in that time, Villa have obviously had a FA Cup match, a match against Brugge. They've got a big match in midweek. They've got a big enough squad now to rotate. Malin didn't even make the European squad, so he could probably feature in this match. Asensio's probably been one of the best signings of the transfer window, exceptional. Rashford looks a galvanised player, totally different. And, when you think they got those three players in and Duran has gone, I mean, I think it's good business by Emery, really, what he's done there. But they have got the capabilities now to rotate. They're back. Their defensive problems they had with injuries are back. But I'm going to go for Brentford here because Brentford do start fast. We've said before, Brentford at home, they come out the traps flying, and they haven't played for 10 days, so they're going to be really hungry to come out. And Villa on the road, if their record is pretty poor, as you said there, but their half-time record is really poor. I mean, they're 16th in the half-time table in the Premier League. They haven't got a very good... They start slow. So I've gone for Brentford to be leading at half-time and Brentford to be leading at full-time. And that plays plus 255. It's a better way to get in with Brentford at plus 130. They have got goals in them. They score goals at home. They're the top goal scorers, as Jack has said there. But a very similar kind of play to Jack. But I've just gone for Brentford to start fast and maintain that with a win. So I think it's a great time to catch Villa. And we've said so many times in these shows how much of a deflation that Villa have after Champions League nights. And that was a big night for them. And I think that this Brentford can catch some cold from the first whistle. So plus 255, Brentford half-time, Brentford full-time. Very close that was to becoming my hot dog.
Quickly, on the Saturday night game, Wolves-Everton here. A couple of leans from the boys here. Wolves favourites, but only just plus 163. Everton plus 185. Everton unbeaten since Moyes returned in the Premier League, at least. And Wolves, Nigel, no Mateus Cunha. I mean, that's a massive blow for them. I don't know how many games he's out for. Is it 4, 5, maybe even more? I don't know. What's your thoughts on this one?
Well, that is it. I mean, that's the fault. You have your best man, your best player. And if you read on social media, the response from Wolves fans, they're not very happy with him. And I think it could be his last match he's ever played for Wolves. He could just someone who's a hero could be just turned into a villain straight away. I think this
Signing for Villa.
Pardon?
Is he signing for Villa?
I think the Max Fish joke was a lot better than that one. I mean, really, I don't even know why you bothered saying that. It's just you were ahead.
My
with
timing
the
was
jokes.
off.
You were brilliant. It's unbelievable. Anyway, I'm going to go for under 2.5 goals. It's not original, but it's minus 148. I just can't see this being anything other than a dull affair. The draw's very short, plus 210. Wouldn't surprise me to be a draw. Decore and Calvert-Lewin may return for Everton, which will help them, I suppose. But I think this is a bit of a dour affair. If you're without Cunha, where are Wolves going to get the goals from? So it's the shortest under 2.5 goals on the coupon at minus 148. But I think if you're going to play this, a low scoring draw. I'm not going to, after the week I've had, the nil-nil detector is not coming out the dustbin. But I just if it was back in the old days, nil-nil would be a big one.
Let's have a look at it. Is it still there?
It's smashed to pieces.
Jack, what's your lean?
I've gone with Everton to win for much of the same reasons there. Because of Cunha's absence for Wolves, you just wonder where they're going to create and where they're going to score. He's been involved in 6 of the last 9 goals, which spans 9 games, so they're not prolific. And I certainly look towards the under 2.5 goals initially, but a little bit too short, I think, just for us to put on as an official play. But certainly looks very, very likely. And I just think Everton have been very good under David Moyes. They threw it away against Manchester United right at the death. Decent point away at Brentford. So no cup commitments as opposed to Wolves, who went all the way to penalties against Bournemouth. And so without Cunha, I just don't think they've got anything about them to trouble this Everton defence, who will nick it probably 1-0.
Everton is the selection there, just a lean from Jack. Let's move on to Sunday's games. And obviously, we are a stateside facing show, and the clocks spring forward this weekend, so do be aware of that. So it's a 10 a.m. kick-off for Spurs against Bournemouth and Chelsea-Leicester for that matter, and 12:30 for the United-Arsenal game on Sunday. We're going to start, boys, with a couple of leans here on Spurs against Bournemouth. I was going to say, Nigel, that Spurs as favourites never sits well with bettors, or at least it shouldn't do, but the prices are flip-flop here because Bournemouth are now favourites. When I looked at this 24 hours ago, Spurs were, but now Bournemouth are. Obviously, they've got Europa League duty as well tonight. What's your lean on this one? Because this was pretty close to a play for you, I think, wasn't it?
Well, it's another price play. When Dominic Solanke went to Tottenham, did he ever think they would be the underdogs at home against Bournemouth last season? I mean, that would have been incredible. I just think at the price, I've got to get with Tottenham. I couldn't trust them at plus 160 on the money line, but I think on the draw no bet market, minus 110, I've got to get with them. They've got this match in Holland, which is, it's not far to travel. They'll be back in 45 minutes from Holland there. Bournemouth have got the FA Cup match to look forward to against Manchester City. I think that's got a huge match for them now. So that's going to be on their radar. I think they're a great side, a team that, again, this season I can't call right. But I just got a feeling that, the players are coming back now for Tottenham. And they haven't played too bad in the last couple of matches. Hard-fought 1-0 win in their last match against Manchester United. Richarlison, Van der Ven and Solanke could return imminently, so they could feature in this match, or maybe a little bit too early for this match. But I just got a feeling that they steadied the ship, but they were so decimated by injuries in every position: goal scorers, defensive problems, goalkeeper, everything. And I just got to. It's just, again, it's a price feeling. I think the draw no bet Tottenham at minus 110 could be the way for me. But you've got to trust Tottenham, and that's a worry. So. Yeah, only a very, very tentative lean, but just on the price, I think the way it's flip-flopped and the way the money's come for Bournemouth, I think it's been given Tottenham a little bit of an attractive price.
The money has come from Jack Wright's account, by the looks of things, Jack, because you're a Bournemouth player here for a lean.
Yeah, well, for a lean, it was plus 148 when I put it forward last night. So, yeah, I think a lot depends on tonight. Obviously, after we recorded this, and that. European game for Spurs, because that's our season right there, isn't it? That's their competition for Spurs and for Ange as well, who's obviously been bullish at the start of the season about winning a trophy this time round. So that's where it all comes down to for him. So they're way off in the league. That defeat to Manchester City last time out was kind of the final nail in the coffin, I think, if it needed one. And Bournemouth have continued to do well. They've got Evan Nielsen back now as well, so they've got a little bit more rotation in those forward areas, and I think they can cause Spurs a problem. I just wonder how much Spurs rotate on Sunday, given that obviously a lot depends on the result tonight before they play Alkmaar again next week. So on the basis of it, Spurs have lost 7 at home this season. Only the bottom 4 have lost more than that. So I think that the prices for me, Bournemouth were worth taking on at that point of time as a lean.
Nigel's 1 unit plays on Chelsea against Leicester. It's another 10 a.m. Sunday kickoff here. Chelsea are very short price. They're in Conference League action, of course, on Thursday. Their record is only so-so off the back of European action this season. But Leicester continue, Nigel, to be a mess here. So no one's betting Leicester, I don't think, at plus 650. What is the angle in for you for your 1U?
Well, they're 12-1, 650 is the draw, Dan.
Sorry.
So, they'd be mad to bet them at 650 when 12's available.
What about 12-1? No one's betting them at 12-1, Nigel.
No one's betting them because they've all took the 650. I think on the current metrics, I mean, Leicester are probably the worst team in the Premier League, even worse than Southampton, really. And that's saying something. I mean, they're just absolutely a mess at the moment. We've highlighted it so many times that they rely on 38-year-old Jamie Vardy to score goals, and he hasn't got the legs anymore. And on the road, they're just not scoring goals. They failed to score in Leicester have lost their last 5 matches, quite convincingly as well. And they failed to score in 4 of those 5 matches. And I just think here that Chelsea, the best way to get to them is to win to 0. Chelsea are minus 560 on the money line, but to win to 0 is plus 110. I think that's a big difference in price. And this is a Chelsea side that beat a team similar to Leicester in Southampton, really convincingly, 4-0 in their last match, and never looked like conceding a goal, never looked like conceding any chance at all. Southampton created absolutely nothing. The only problem for them is that Nicholas Jackson is still out. Palmer doesn't look doesn't look the player he was at the start of the season. I mean, who would have thought Chelsea scoring 4 goals and against home to Southampton and Palmer not being on the score sheet? But they've got goals from elsewhere. And Nkunku, Neto now, Cucurella bangs in with a few as well. So they've got goals from all over the pitch. And I think they're going to be far too strong for a Leicester side that are leaking goals alarmingly. They've given up so many chances on the metrics, and they just can't put the ball in the back of the net. So my 1 unit pick is Chelsea to win 2-0 at plus 110 against Leicester on Sunday.
And you're on the same vein of thinking here, Jack.
Exactly the same bet, exactly the same reasons. I thought Leicester against West Ham were embarrassing. They didn't even attempt anything in the first half. They were marginally better in the second half, but never looked like scoring. So yeah, the win 2-0 for me. I say it's a very good parallel as far as Chelsea played Southampton, and again Southampton never looked like getting close to scoring against Chelsea, so it looks the same for me. The only slight, tiny concern for me would be how strong Chelsea go tonight, but even with that, they've got enough rotation to cope with it, and say Leicester are pitiful. So yeah, win 2-0 for me as the lean.
Manchester United versus Arsenal is the big game. We've got Nigel's hot dog and Jack's same game parlay. Just before we get the plays from the boys, I mean, Nigel, UK television is trying to dress this up as a big game. It just isn't, is it really? Because United are all over the place. They're plus 400, Arsenal are minus money. Just on the money line from you both quickly before we get into the plays, what's your thoughts on it here? Are Arsenal any sort of value now that, that Champions League round of 16 tie is done, isn't it, with that 7-1 win over PSV? And United have got the
if you asked me before that match, would I bet Arsenal at minus 124? My answer to that question would be no. But I think now the confidence around the club must be flying. And that was the best performance of the season when their back was against the wall. With all the adversity, there've been problems, and they've come out and put in that kind of performance, and it was sensational. They looked Odegaard was superb. So now going in at a club that is in absolute turmoil, that is all over the shop, and has a big trip to, we talk about the Europa League and we talk about the Conference League and we sort of dismiss them and say, oh, they put fringe team players out, but that Man United trip to Sociedad tonight is this massive game, and he's got to win that trophy. So they're going to go full strength. So yeah, minus 124. And I wouldn't be surprised to see that minus 124 shortened. So Arsenal at minus 124 would be the bet for me on the money line, yeah, for sure.
Jack, for free $50 play on the money line, where's it going?
Yeah, same thing really. I think the key driver for that is the fact that Arsenal are taking care of business in the Champions League. If they had a work to be done next week, then I'd be cautious. But I think they can now go and say, well, let's look to nail down that second place in the Premier League. So you've got to fancy them.
Right, same game parlay and hot dog. These are official plays. Obviously, same game parlay is the bet that we like. We've really embraced over the course of this season. It's our favourite part of the show. Jack, same game parlay. 2 elements to your SGP this week. What are they?
Yeah, I got a bit different this week because it was quite tough to put together. I've gone for a plus 155 same game parlay, so very short odds. Very simple. I'll just reel the stats out. Under 11.5 corners to start with. Man United at home cashed 11 of 14, which is the most in the Premier League, and each of the last 5, and in 8 of the last 9, whereas Arsenal 11 of 14, that's the joint most in the Premier League away from home, and 6 of the last 7. And I've gone for the one saving grace, depends who you speak to or listen to, for Manchester United, which is Bruno Fernandes, to have a shot on target. 20 shots on target in the league this season. 16 of those have come at Old Trafford, so very much a homer. Missed out on Ipswich, possibly due to that red card. Didn't have a shot on target in that one, but that ended a run of 5 straight home league games where he'd had a shot on target. He's had at least 1 in 10 of his 13 at home in the Premier League this season, and he also scored in the FA Cup tie against Arsenal recently, obviously on free kicks and PKs as well, which possibly will help in that respect. So that's the same game parlay. Under 11.5 corners, Bruno to have a shot on target at plus 155.
This is Nigel's hot dog. It may well be the biggest hot dog of the season. May not be. We'd have to sort of check back through the record. Nigel,
it won't be. I guarantee it won't be the biggest hot dog by the end of the season. I guarantee you that.
You are looking for a home run here. Come on.
Well, Yes. I don't know if you watched the Betting Weekly Live or anyone watched the Betting Weekly Live of the Arsenal game when I said that under 2.5 goals was a brilliant bet. I mean, it's amazing that, like how many people watch those shows and comment on those ones, but don't comment on, well, the one I was right back in 2007. But, I gave a pick for Calafiori to score at any time or to have an assist or a shot on target and at a time. And I was told by someone who I know who's got close links to Arsenal that Calafiori would probably play, and if he played, he'd play in a more advanced position. He didn't start, but he did come on and played in a more advanced position. And he's, with the way that Arsenal haven't got this striker at the moment, I think that, players are told to have a shot, go for it a little bit more. They play Moreno up front at the moment. He's not a striker, and he needs help from in and around him. So I'm sticking with that. And in that match, Calafiori came on, didn't he, and scored. So we had the right read, but obviously he didn't come on at the time and score the goal. Now he's a fullback, but he's an attack-minded fullback who bombs up and has a shot. Even he scored 3 goals for Arsenal this season. But if he plays in a more advanced position and they don't have a striker, which we know they don't have a striker, then if you look at any time goal scorers, the Moreno is like sort of plus 140, 150. But Calafiori to score at any time here is plus 750. I just think it's quite a big price actually. If he does play in more advanced, we all think Arsenal will probably win this match. And if he plays in an advanced position, which first of all he's got to start, but if he does start and plays in an advanced role, plus 750 is a big price. I really wanted to put him up as to have a shot on target at plus 265, but the amount of stick because the amount of stick that I've given everybody on this group for having shots on target bets, I don't think I'd ever be able to show my face again at a Christmas party if I did that. So if you do like your shots on target, and just to have one shot on target, Calafiori is plus 265 in this match. But I'm going to go for any time goal scorer at plus 750. I think I've got to take some chances here at the end of the season, and hopefully one of these hits, but plus 750. The big stat though from this match is the one that Lewis Jones puts onto a few weeks ago, and it's incredible. I mean, and it continues. Last 19 Manchester United matches, they've only scored 3 goals in the first half. And in those 19 matches, they've got 17 blanks. And one of them was a penalty. One of them was an own goal. So they've only scored 1 goal from open play, Manchester United, in their last 19 matches in the first half. But I looked at that, and them not to score in the first half is minus 286. So it's it's an extremely low price. But I think, for me, going to go for Calafiori, plus 750, anytime goal score. Hope he starts, and if he does, in that more advanced role, take a shot, have a pop, son, and get a goal for me, get me out of the old trouble on me.
Monday night action is West Ham against Newcastle. Monday night seems to be West Ham date night, doesn't it? They play on a Monday all the time here. We have got a couple of leans from the boys here, and we've got opposing views as well, which is always great to see. So are you Team Nigel or Team Jack here? West Ham are plus 210, Newcastle are plus 123, and the tie is plus 255. Nigel, you are first up to present the case for the home team.
Well, the home team, I think, is getting better. Obviously, they've got the managers come in. He inherited a team that was decimated by injuries. All the players are almost back now fit, and you can see the results are turning. They've kept 2 clean sheets in their last 2 matches, which always pleases any manager. They went to Arsenal, 1-1-0. Bowen scored. They went to Leicester, scored 1-2-0. I think Bowen scored again there. Under the lights at West Ham on a Monday night, it's a different atmosphere. Anyone who watches Premier League football, anyone who follows West Ham will know that it's a very different atmosphere there. And Newcastle have got a long way to travel. And not necessarily the players, and they're used to that, but the fans have got a long way to travel on a Monday night. They've got to get back to Newcastle. It's not ideal for them. The other thing is they've got Gordon suspended, which is a huge blow for them. Arguably one of their best players apart from Isaac this season. Hall is now out for the season as well, which is, that's a big blow. He was probably the most improved fullback in the Premier League. The amount of assists and crosses he puts in for Isaac. And Isaac's got an injury knock. He didn't look great when he returned, but I don't think he's 100% fit. And then throw into the mix, they've got an FA Cup final. Oh, not FA Cup final, a League Cup final against Newcastle, which is massive for Newcastle. I mean, they just need to win some kind of silverware. They haven't won anything since the 50s or 60s, so it's been an awful long time for them. And I think that match is a huge priority. I know that they're pushing for a Champions League spot, which is massive, but the results may help them or might not help them. What happens on Saturday? But I just think at home, West Ham here against this Newcastle side, who are decimated by injuries to key players, not fringe players, key players, and have a cup final, and don't have a very, very good record in London over the years. I think that West Ham here at plus 210 under the lights in East London at the London Stadium are a bet on the money line.
There you go. That's the case for the moneyline home win. Let us know in the comments. Are you with Nigel here, or are you going to be with Jack? Because, Jack, you have got the opposing view. Put your case to the jury, the YouTube commenters' jury here. Why we're liking Newcastle.
Well, these head-to-heads normally only go in one way, don't they, over the years? So let's see if I can buck the trend.
Only good thing I am. That's the only good thing I've done. The head-to-head records.
So it's a tough one because that West Ham performance against Leicester, it was a win. It was a very comfortable win. They didn't really get out of second gear. Didn't have to. So you don't quite know how much they've got under Graham Potter, but the fact they've had a couple of weeks obviously to prep for this is a bonus for them. But Newcastle have been inconsistent. They've kind of picked and chosen when they've turned up and played exceptionally well, and then other times they're just putting in different performances. But I think the fact they definitely need to keep going as far as that top 5 is concerned to get a Champions League place is going to be a driver here. And I think when you put the two sides together at this moment in time, Newcastle are the better side. I think they'll want to get a pick-me-up ahead of that League Cup final as well. Yes, Gordon's out. So they have got a couple of issues. Isak is the key one for me. If he's fit and he turns up and he's on his game, then he'll be the difference maker to win this for Newcastle. I'm still not quite convinced by West Ham yet. And I say at the London Stadium, So Newcastle for me to edge it.
I tell you what, Dan, if we were in the court of law, I'd win that case. I thought my case for the defence was a lot better there.
Yeah.
The jury was go send him down, send Jack Wright down.
I ain't gonna lie. Cuff me up now. Yeah. That's
there we go.
Yeah.
Come on, look.
Now he's saying cuff me up now. Now he's going back to the old Saturday swinging night down in with that suit on in the Norwich Swingers bars.
Look, we're talking here. Do we think that West Ham are value at plus 210 or Newcastle value at plus 120? Let us know who you're with. Are you with Nigel? Are you with Jack? Not who you think is going to win it. Just what do you think the
Who are
best
you with,
bet
Dan?
is? I actually thought that one of you were going to pick West Ham as a hot dog. I think West Ham are massive. I'm going to bet West Ham. Sorry,
They come close. They come close to being a hot dog, but when you're minus 12 units, wherever I am, you've got to go for them plus 750 shots.
There's a long way to go this season. There's an awful lot of football still to play. What we sort of 11 games to go, 11 match rounds.
You sound like the Southampton manager telling the fans they're not going to go down. That's what you sound like.
That is your lot for the week. Nigel, Jack, thanks for your company. Good luck to one and all. We keep everyone updated over the course of the weekend via our X feeds. That is a wrap for Betting Weekly Premier League show. We're back next week. Are we back next week? Yeah, it's not FA Cup again, is it? They keep throwing these FA Cup rounds in. We've got more picks, plays, hot dogs, same game parlays. We've got the live show, 11 a.m. every single midweek day. Been flying on that. Nigel and Jack, of course, have been on this week with the Champions League. Much more to come. Plenty of football and tennis. Follow us at Because We Win. Subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. We're inching. How many before 8,000? Are we a couple of hundred?
About 100 short, and we're only about. We should have 1 million views by the end of this week on the channel, which is incredible.
There you go. What's the prize for the millionth view? What's the prize for the 1 millionth
Well, it's very
view?
hard to find out who the million view is, isn't it? It's impossible.
I don't know. You're the one who's the
a
algorithm.
night out
man.
with Dan Roebuck. If
Oh,
you're
mate,
if you're 1,000,001, you get 4 nights out of him. And also the newsletter, Betting Weekly Studios newsletter. Make sure you subscribe to newsletter content. There's going to be a new newsletter coming out previewing all the action for the weekend as well. So the newsletter is very, very important. Make sure you subscribe to that at bettingweeklystudios.com.
Brilliant stuff. That's your lot from all of us. Have a good betting weekend. Make it pay. We'll see you next week.